All right, moving on, we're going to factor trinomials. We have 3 terms. Again, always look for a GCF first. If you don't have one, then you're going to go and start factoring. Now, this is where, depending on who you've had as a teacher in the past, you may have learned a number of different methods for doing this. So, I am going to revert back to the factor by grouping because it always works. Again, if you have another method that works for you and you want to ask me about it, I'm completely fine. As long as you can get the answer without cheating, I'm happy. Alright, so we're going to take a look at our C term, this one right here. It's a negative 15. I need to come up with 2 numbers that multiply to give me negative 15 that are going to add up to negative 2. So 5 and 3 multiply to give me 15. If my 5 is negative and my 3 is positive, negative 5 plus 3 is negative 2. Alright, now I'm going to do something kind of weird here. I am going to write y squared, so there's just that y squared. Instead of writing minus 2y, I am going to write it as a combination of negative 5 and 3. So I'm going to write minus 5y plus 3y. Alright, that plus looks weird there. Plus 3y. And then finally I've got my minus 15. So if you look, I just took a trinomial and I made it into a 4-term polynomial. I broke up that negative 2y. And again, I got those numbers from what I could multiply to get negative 15. Now I just have a factor by grouping type problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my first 2 terms, these 2 right here, and look for the GCF, which is a y. And I'm left with y minus 5. My GCF in this next group is a positive 3. If I divide both those by 3, I've got y minus 5. My parentheses match up, and so I'm left with y plus 3, y minus 5. Now, maybe you notice something about the answer compared to these 2. Yes, they're exactly the same. Could you have skipped all of this middle stuff right here and jumped right to the answer? Yes. But that's only going to work if your leading coefficient, if your A term is 1. So if you realize that and you want to jump right to the answer, that's fine. Like I said, I'm going to keep doing all of these the same so you can see that they all work. Alright, next problem. If you look, they all have numbers that I could divide by 3. Remember, always look for a GCF. It's just going to make the number smaller and make the problem easier. So I'm going to divide everything by 3. So I've got a 3, and then I've got x squared plus 7x minus 18. Alright, this 3 is part of the answer. So don't forget about it. When you get down to the answer, it's going to be part of the answer if you just want to write it down, because I know that we're going to need it, so we don't forget it. We just have to figure out what goes in the 2 parentheses. So again, I'm going to look at the negative 18, that C term, and I'm going to try to come up with 2 numbers that I can multiply to get negative 18 that add up to 7. Well, 9 times 18, or sorry, 9 times 2 is 18. If the 2 is negative, 9 and negative 2 add up to 7. So again, when I rewrite this, I'm going to break up that 7 into a 9 and 2. So now I've got x squared plus 9x minus 2x minus 18. The GCF in the first group is an x, and I'm left with x plus 9. The GCF in the second group is a negative 2. Remember I said that middle sign will always match? My parentheses should be x plus 9, because that's what my first one was. You can always distribute to check. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x. Negative 2 times 9 is negative 18. Remember, we need the parentheses to match. They match, so I'm left with my GCF, x minus 2, and the stuff that was matching in the parentheses. Now, the reason that I wrote the answer to begin with, remember we needed that 3 to be part of the answer. So just write the rest of it. X minus 2, x plus 9. Again, after we took out the GCF of 3, we had a 1 as a leading coefficient, so you could have at this point just taken the 9 and the -2 and written your two factors. Let's try some more that are a little trickier. Alright, maybe you're wondering why I did those last two problems with the GCF and the grouping, because it was kind of annoying because you could have just jumped to the answer. Well, the reason I did that is because in these examples, you cannot just jump to the answer. So this would be the ones where maybe you learned some tricks. What I'm going to do here is grouping the exact same way I did before. First thing I need you to do is multiply the A and the C term. 12 times -20 gives me -240. I don't know why I put that extra parenthesis there. So it's kind of a big number, but we can do it. I need two numbers I can multiply to get -240 that are going to add up to -1. So this might take you a while. Just get your calculator out. 2 times 120 is not going to work. Keep going. Divide by 3, divide by 5, divide by 10. Eventually, you should come up with the numbers 15 and 16. So 15 times 16 is 240. I need one of the signs to be negative. I'm going to make the bigger sign be negative so that those two add up to be -y. I am going to rewrite my trinomial as a 4-term, 12y squared plus 15y, I got that from here, minus 16y, I got that from this other term, minus 20. Now, I'm going to break it up and then look for the GCF in the first two terms. So figure out what can you divide 12 and 15 both by. You can divide them both by 3. They both have a y, and then I'll put my leftovers in the parentheses. 12 divided by 3 is 4, y squared divided by y is y, plus 15y divided by 3y is 5. Now, there's a minus sign right there, so I need to put a minus sign here. What can you divide 16 and 20 both by? You can divide them both by 4, and again, remember the parentheses have to match. So, 4y plus 5, you can always check to make sure that worked. -4 times 4 is -16, and that's -20. My parentheses match, so we're good. Remember, that's one of your answers, or part of your answer, 4y plus 5, and then the other one is going to come from the GCFs, 3y minus 4. Alright, now, remember, if you don't feel like you did it right, or you feel like you messed that up, you can always check by using FOIL. You can use FOIL to check it. And again, the answer you should get is what you should, started with. Let's just do a quick check to make sure. 3y times 4y is 12y squared. 3y times 5 is plus 15y. -4 times 4y is minus 16y minus 20. And if you look, that's the exact same step we had right here. You combine like terms, you're going to get your answer back. So, it's not something you have to do, but it's something you can do, just to feel confident. Let's try another one. This time we're going to multiply our 5 and our 6 together. Maybe you're wondering why I didn't do that previously. Let me just back up here. If you notice, 1 times -15 was going to give you -15 anyway. So you can always do that where you multiply the A times the C. Here, 5 times 6 is 30. You need to come up with two numbers that you can multiply to get 30 that are going to add up to a -13. So 10 and 3 is going to give me 30, but they're not going to add up to -13. If you make both of the signs negative, though, -10 times -3 is positive 30. -10 plus -3 is -13. Alright, let's rewrite our trinomial as a 4-term. 5w squared minus 10w minus 3w plus 6. Let me say something else right here. I wrote the -10 and the -3 in this order. If you would have mixed those up and put the -3 first and the -10 second, you're still going to get the same answers. If you don't believe me, go ahead and try it. I promise it works. Alright, so I'm looking for the GCF in these first two terms, and I can divide those both by a 5w. So I've got 5w, and I'm left with a w minus 2. The next has a negative sign, so write minus. You can divide both of these by 3, and I'm left with w minus 2. My parentheses match, I'm good to go. Write down the GCF, 5w minus 3, and w minus 2. We're good. Yay!